Do you want to do the intro?
Hello guys, I'll do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hello guys, welcome back to the XXL Podcast with myself, Drew Spendlove, and the one and only Josh Eastham. Let's jump straight into this. Josh, who we've got on the podcast today?
So today we have Adonis. I don't know how to pronounce the second name, but Adonis, fitting the name, he is an Adonis. He's a big old lad, big rugby player, or ex-rugby player, I think, through injury. But he's coming on. He's recently, fairly recently, within the last couple of years, got into teaching. So it'll be really interesting to hear his thoughts on the current situation, if he's got any insight that he could share with us and the audience. So without further ado, let's get him in, loading up. Hopefully won't be too bad. Get the audio connected.
Got my door open this morning and I'm wondering whether I should close it or not because I can feel the fly. I can see the flies just wandering around.
Yeah. They'll be filled up in here. So we've got here he is. Can you hear us loud and clear? I think the audio's just connecting.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep. Hear you loud and clear, mate.
Yeah. Lovely.
How are you?
Brilliant. Good morning. Yes, I'm good. I'm awake.
You're awake, yeah.
Thanks,
on a bank holiday.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, tell me about it.
You're rocking the thick beard, man. You look like the Morgan Green.
Yeah. I'm going for the Leonidas look.
Yeah. Have you been doing any trimming of the barnet, or have you just kind of let it just go?
No, just let it go. I'm too paranoid about trying to do it myself, and then it kind of looking like a bit of a hedge.
Yeah. So, got a bit like trim happy on it.
Yeah, a little bit.
So
it is, especially in this weather, it's awful because it's literally like a sweat soak.
Oh,
everything you go outside and you sweat and it's just like absorbs. It's awful.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not like it's slowing down this heat, is it? This week's pretty
No, exactly. The whole week I looked because obviously I was checking to see if there's any time for me to like good weather to go out on the bike, and every day this week has been like 24 degrees. So
are you out on the bike much? So just Drew, so you don't know, Adonis, how long have you had a bike now? Yeah, nice to meet you. This is Adonis, Drew Adonis.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Josh.
So you've had a bike, what, a year? Not even that?
It's coming up. It's when I finally purchased the bike, it was about a year. I bought it in June or July, I think, and I didn't pass my test until November. And I hammered the test. I was hammering it. I did 5 tests, and every single time it was just another thing wrong. And I was just getting a bit fed up. But I persevered because I said to myself, I don't quit. I want to get this done. I want to, sort of pass this. And I passed in November.
Yeah.
And literally ever since I've been able to insure it and tax it and everything, I've been out on it, and I've probably done about 4,000 miles.
Okay.
And obviously this time having off and stuff has been quite good to go out on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, obviously, it's quite conscious not to break the rules and things like that. But I've tried to be out on it as much as possible. But the general rule that I found, and it's quite funny with regards to almost like a learning curve with bikers, is loads of bikers say, "Oh, I don't really go out in wet weather. I'm too scared about slipping." And I'm out there. I've been out there in torrential downpours just to get that experience, just to get that feel and what it is like. Whereas, there's quite a few people that say, "Oh, unless it's, dry, certain temperature, the road's sticky, the stars have aligned, the moon is in a certain luminary, they won't go out." So
I thought at the beginning of that story you meant pedal bike, and I was thinking, why
is he insuring a pedal bike?
Why have you only just got a pedal bike? And then I didn't realise that was what you were talking about. That's pretty cool. What motorbike have you got?
So the general rule of thumb with bikes is that you should always go for a sort of lower end bike just to get started with. I was training on a 650cc MT-07 Yamaha. It's a fantastic bike. And I kind of went sort of balls deep, and I got 1,000 straight first as my first bike. So, decatted, Remats,
similar with my quad
everything.
bikes. I had quad bikes when I was younger, and I had a 50cc quad bike, and then straight after that, just went up to a 400.
Yeah, it's night and day. It's night and day. Night and day. It's great.
Because I
was like 11 at the time, which probably wasn't great, but you know what?
I feel like 11 still.
yeah. I was going to say, because Adonis, you kind of went into the car scene a little bit, didn't you? Because
I did. I've still got my car sitting on my drive just now. I kind of fell out of favour with it though because, long story short, I had a massive serious car accident Christmas of 2018. Nearly died, which was sort of a bit of a wake up call almost.
Yeah.
Wasn't going fast. It was just a really bad situation on the M1. And then I got this car because I said to myself, I've been cruising around in a 1.6 diesel. I only used it because I had a long time partner up in Manchester, and I was driving up there quite often, so I needed the economy. And I wanted something sort of a little bit faster, a little bit more style. So I bought this car, which is Fiesta ST. It's exactly the same shape as my old car, but obviously it's got the power, the modability, all that sort of stuff. So I got that within 6 months. 2.5 grand's worth of work's probably been done to it. And yeah, it's a completely different car from stock. So I'm very much like Dan. I can't leave something normal. It has to be changed.
It has to have your kind of little spin.
Yeah,
on
it has to have the stamp on it. Yeah, exactly. So it's the same with the bike. As soon as I got the bike, I was already getting stickers for it. I was already taking bits off, putting new bits on. The bike's definitely not standard at all. It's definitely not sound standard. It's so loud. I feel for my neighbours because it's every time I start it up, it's
trying to wheel it down the street and then start it up.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Because it just resonates. Double exhaust, it just resonates so loud. And obviously at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, especially when I'm going to work on it, you don't want that noise because it's you don't want to wake the neighbours up. But
But
all good.
Have you ever? I mean, like obviously you were saying about going out and stuff like that. My missus, her dad, he's got but you know what? I don't even know the specs. A very nice bike.
He's got the fastest land bike in the world.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's crazy.
Quite something.
But he obviously he's not been going out purely for the fact of obviously. Well, he started to go out now, but more when you said in the lockdown of being mindful of actually if you are out, look, you know, the roads are empty, you're doing your thing, you're just cruising around, like you're enjoying it, and which is really good for mental health and things like that. It's a good escape. But are you quite mindful of, okay, I've got to be really careful because otherwise I'll sort of take up the, you know, if there's something happens, God forbid, that you know that you're taking up kind of that ambulance or that kind of NHS space or whatever.
I mean, things could happen. Things could happen anytime. You know, something could jump out at you in a car. Something could jump out at you on a bike. You know, with a bike, obviously, you have to be more conscious that if you're going over like gravel, you're going to lose or potentially lose the rear wheel because obviously a traction control. You haven't got 4 wheels, you've got 2. Yeah. But to be honest, I'm I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here, but I'm a good driver. I've never had an accident apart from that one, and that wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
My friends that I've been out with biking have said how impressed they are by my confidence having passed so sort of quickly towards when I didn't have a bike to where I have now, and the confidence from that, even from people that have been riding 2 times, 3 times longer than I have, and the confidence that I have riding my bike. So I wouldn't say, I mean, it's difficult. If you don't trust the machine that you're on, you're going to have an accident. You're going to sort of not understand how to use it. So you just have to kind of just say to yourself, yes or no. Go in hard and just go in full, or don't do it at all. And that's why I said to myself, I don't want to go for a bike that's similar to the bike that I passed with. I want to go for something a step up because it's going to challenge me. Yeah. And it's also going to sort of, I don't want to sort of buy one that's lower and then have to upgrade. I wanted to go for one that was sort of what I wanted in the first place. And if I could afford it, I could. And that's why I did it. So
Yeah.
I would say I'm a little bit conscious, but at the same time, I'm not sort of going 120 miles an hour down sort of country roads.
Sure.
I'm not going sort of double the speed limit through sort of like Hemel Town or whatever, or sort of undertaking cars on the motorway and stuff like that. I'm pretty sensible when it comes to that. Obviously, within reason, there are certain times where I will push it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's calculated.
Yeah.
You know, you can see the road ahead. You can see what's going on. You're not doing it where there's going to be the potential for an accident. So,
yeah, that's
I think as soon as you go into anything with that mentality, you got more chance of it happening anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you don't like, it's the same with like sports or something like that. Like,
I was going to come on to that. Yeah.
I can't remember the guy. I can't remember. It's a boxer, and he just went into every fight, and he was just like, I'm not going to lose, and he was unbeaten in every fight, and it was just like he never even contemplated the thought of not winning. He got asked in interviews all the time, so how are you going to prepare for the loss? And he was like, what do you mean? Why would I prepare for the loss?
Yeah,
as soon as you start preparing to lose something, that's when it happens.
Yeah.
So it's a similar.
When I played rugby and I had my shoulder reconstruction, I had so many thoughts in my head. I can't go back to rugby. I haven't got the confidence. I can't do it. And I slowly had to build my confidence up to say, if I go and play rugby, I have to just give it 100%. I can't go into a tackle with this shoulder having some doubt over it and risk getting hurt, because with rugby you have to go in 100% or nothing, and if you don't, you can tell easily from the sidelines if someone hasn't got that confidence to hit a tackle 100%.
Yeah.
And I think the first tackle I hit someone after my shoulder operation, it was probably one of the hardest hits I've ever hit someone, and it felt fine, and then the confidence just literally, it was like a key unlocking that door, the confidence just straight in. And then after that, until I retired, no problems at all. And that's a massive, you know, if anyone's been in a sporting scenario where they've had an injury, and I know friends that have as well, even with the bodybuilding stuff as well, going through injury, you're always conscious that injury is going to hold you back, or that injury is going to come back again when you least expect it. And you just you can't have that doubt. You can't worry that, you know, if that's going to happen again, and always have that consciousness in the back of your mind. That's the same when I did my CBT on my bike test. I pulled front brake so hard because I didn't know the limitations of the bike. I went straight over the handlebars. And obviously I'm not a small guy, so it's probably seeing like Donkey Kong flying over the handlebars. And
half expected to land on your feet and then
whip the bike.
Yeah, like ta-da! And my instructor just said, look, you just got to pick yourself up. You just got to pick yourself up and just realise that things happen like that. And some people, it's not for me. That's way too scary. But I did. I picked myself up, and it didn't stop me from you know, keep going and doing the manoeuvres and stuff like that we were doing in order for that potentially to happen. You just got to trust yourself. You just got to realise that some things happen, and that's what you learn from.
I think it's a big advocate, especially like you're saying, you know, within the rugby, or even in, you know, anyone in the gym, or anyone who's experienced an injury through doing a sport or movement or something, is being able to sideline that was then and this is now. Because if you, like you said, you're going in for a tackle and you suddenly change split seconds before you hit, your whole dynamic of your body's off, and it's not ready for, and it's not in a good position. It's not like, you know, in that kind of braced position that you should be, that actually, you know, your body would be fine. But now you're in a position where actually things might be loose, or there might be something that's going to be twisted, or
so when it comes into neck dynamics as well. You know, this is the thing that keeps you from dying.
Yes.
You know, if this is weak and you're going into a tackle, you snap your neck, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, you're a goner. So
no.
Yeah.
No.
So,
no.
Yeah. Moving on swift.
Yeah,
so I mean, like, for people understanding this, like, give people, like, how tall are you and what do you weigh? Like, you can't really understand.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, weight is, well, we'll start height, because that hasn't really changed that much. So I think measurement-wise, I'm
Quarantine
probably
affects people's heights.
Yeah.
People start to shrink during quarantine.
sitting in a chair all day. Definitely shrinks your height. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't had it fully measured since I've been this age, but probably between about 6'4", 6'5". And obviously weight has definitely fluctuated over the years, obviously with the bodybuilding and stuff and the rugby. But I'd probably say, I mean, I've been as low as 118 kilos, and that was stage weight. I've
118.
not really been that. 118, yeah. 19 and a half stone.
That's pretty heavy, and that's your lightest.
Yeah, but I don't know. I always thought that it wasn't that heavy for someone of my size.
Maybe.
But I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what it is. But heaviest, which was my peak bulk, was 135 kilos. So that's 21 and a half stone, I think it was.
21 and a half. So what was it? 130?
135.
135. So you're looking at like, what, 280 pounds? Maybe more?
No, it was more than that. It was nearer 300 pounds, I think.
Oh, Christ almighty.
Yeah, so that's like, yeah.
What's the most you've weighed, Josh?
The most I've weighed? Oh, like,
a comp.
Far from that. For a comp?
What for comp?
For a comp, the heaviest I've been to date was about 85 kilos. So
did you say you've done comp? Was that your competition weight, Adonis?
Yeah, that was competition weight. Yeah. So,
and are they two different brackets, or would you compete in the same?
Would be
totally different brackets. Yeah. Just to put it in perspective, I've just put in 135 kilos, 297 pounds.
200. So pretty much hitting that 300 pound mark.
Yeah, nearly. Yeah.
What did you feel for like your health and stuff like that?
Almost as much as the big show.
Did you feel like?
Yeah.
Because I found that when I go heavy, I mean the heaviest I've got is about 102, which really isn't even that heavy.
Oh no, kilos.
No kilos. Yeah.
I was gonna say
100 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like sugar over here.
But like I found that my breathing goes like heavy. I can hear myself breathe.
Yeah. And I think
can't do my shoelaces.
You have to go and then go down to tie your shoelaces.
Yeah, exactly that.
And you've got like a double attempt at it. You suck it in, breathe, go for one shoelace. If you don't get it within 5 seconds, you've got to come up again for breath.
You almost have to do the first, like the tie, and then go in for the old loops.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hills or
Bloody hell.
Hill. That was hard. Yeah,
what was that? Sorry.
Hard. Like walking up a slight incline on a hill.
Okay.
Was quite hard. Walking upstairs, you just feel like you're just carrying so much extra weight on top of your norm. And obviously, I'm not a small guy, so I'm never going to be like an average 70 kilo guy. I've always been over 100 kilos. Even when I was sort of 18, 19, I was always over 100 kilos.
Yeah.
But that extra, I think when I pushed from about 120 up to about 130, that extra 10 kilos, you definitely feel it. 100%. And there were a few times where I thought to myself, do you know, like, is this really worth it to be this heavy, to be sort of, sweating during the night because you're just so big? Like, obviously I'm not anything compared to like pro bodybuilders and stuff like that, but when you're so big and you just sit in your bed and you're just like, oh my God, I just feel so heavy right now. I can't really settle, and just trying to get clothes on and stuff like that. I do feel for these sort of pro bodybuilders that have to have like, stuff made for them, or they have to wear quadruple XL shirts just to have it not sticking to their body, when they're training and stuff. And I did feel that a little bit. A lot of clothes that I was buying when I was that size were huge. I was wearing big sweatpants. I was wearing big T-shirts and stuff. Shirts had to be like, I think the highest shirt collar I went up to was about 21 inches. 21 inches, something like that. Yeah, my neck was just so thick. And
did you find it, like, did you find, well, you might not have done it at this point because it's kind of more into fruition like nowadays, or more of kind of like a highlight subject is like your health markers. Did you get anything like that done, like blood pressure, or literally just...
I was really naive in that sense. No one really sort of suggested or encouraged me to do that. And I think that was probably to my detriment. In terms of my blood pressure, I think definitely my blood pressure was high. I naturally have high blood pressure anyway. I don't know why. Even when I was at uni doing sort of fitness testing and stuff, I got told you have high blood pressure even at resting.
Yeah.
And sort of like high heart rate kind of thing. So I don't know. Yeah. I guess if I had
would you say that's
shot at the...
Yeah, I was going to say with the high blood pressure, is that like an element of being the athlete kind of mindset, the weightlifter? Like, from what I understand, is like you naturally kind of do have a slightly elevated kind of blood pressure due to that kind of athleticism, the kind of size of the muscle, just a bit more to type thing.
Yeah, maybe, but in like not fitness testing, but in sort of health parameters. Yeah, because obviously my degree was sports science, so the people that were doing all the testing and stuff were doctors in their fields and stuff. They said in order to be qualifying for even like a lab test, just in part of our class, you had to fall within a certain sort of blood pressure parameters. Yeah, and even I fell outside of them, and they said, you can't do this because your blood pressure is too high.
Yeah. To be fair, I've had that where when I was going to go and work in the prison, they did like your fitness test and stuff like that, and the nurse who was basically doing my blood pressure, she was looking at me. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine. Why? What's up?" She's like, "You feel nervous? You kind of stressed about anything?" I was like, "No." She was like, "Have you had a coffee?" I was like, "I had a sip of a coffee." She was like, "Yeah, like you're 1 point marker away from not being able to do the fitness test." And I was like, "Are you being serious? Like, look at, like, not in an arrogant way, but look at me. Like, I'm pretty sure I can handle, a 5.2 on the old bleep test and holding the shield up. Like, it's nothing." But yeah, interesting times.
So, going back to being big in terms of your fitness and trying not being able to do your shoelaces and things like that, I wouldn't worry too much about not being able to get upstairs. I don't think it matters how fit you are never stair fit.
100%. You can do all the Stairmaster you want.
I don't know. Yeah,
you could be Usain Bolt. Yeah, he can run 100 meters in 9.5 seconds. Give him 20 flights of stairs, he'll be out of breath by the time he gets to the top.
It's the Stairmaster for cardio when I was doing cuts and stuff was a new kind of pain. People that say, "Oh, it's all right, I'll just go on the treadmill," or it's all right, I'll just go on the cross trainer and stuff. They've never felt pain like the Stairmaster. the true champions use the Stairmaster, and single-handedly, I think that's probably the best piece of cardio equipment you can actually get. For my experience, anyway, it's just a new level of pain. You've got one
in your home. Well, majority.
Yeah.
I think I'd need new carpet if I tried the Stairmaster in my home. To be fair.
Yeah.
So Adonis, talking about obviously kind of your degree and things like that. You've kind of focused that degree now in teaching, right? Or did you have to go and do like a different degree? Or how did you kind of fall into that? Because from when I've looked into doing like teaching, I'd love to be a PE teacher. I think it'd be really, really cool and things like that. But I think for me, what was holding me back is the whole university going X time out, which I know like really the actual time out is going to go so quick. But for me, like I've kind of fallen in my flow and everything seems to be working right now. So I'm like, oh, it's kind of like a sideline thing. But how did you kind of get into that?
So I left uni not knowing what I wanted to do, and it's been 10 years in the making almost. And that's no word of a lie. That's 10 years of me dipping in and out of different sort of career paths. I did property management for a good number of years, and then I did a little bit of temp work and contract work here and there. And I was really just trying to find my flow. I couldn't find anything that was sustaining me or my sort of like my mindset. I've got quite an addictive personality, so I need something for me to sort of latch onto and really sort of keep coming back to.
Yeah.
And I found that a lot of jobs, although they were good in the initial, they didn't keep my concentration, or they weren't exciting enough for me to keep going or to want to pursue. So summer of 2018, I decided I need to change something in my life. I'm getting to the point of, you know, nearly reaching 30. I've not found a career yet. Loads of people that I knew had already found their career from sort of early 20s.
Yeah.
And I was just, you know, the whole mindset of, you know, you don't need to follow the trend, you don't need to follow other people. But at the same time, you think to yourself, well, you know, I want to settle down eventually. I want to sort of build a house, you know, a home and a house and everything like that. And I need to be secure in my career in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
And I can't, you know, secure my career if I'm just doing temp work or I'm just doing sort of contracts, you know, as a contractor and stuff. So I looked into it. My cousin, who teaches over in Oxford, was quite a large facilitator. She might not know it, but she was, you know, we had lots of chats over Christmas time and stuff about, oh, how's the teaching going? And I thought about it, and I thought, could I make it as a PE teacher? You know, do I have what it takes to be a PE teacher? And if you'd asked me that now, I'd say no, because I thought at the time, oh no, I haven't got the knowledge, I haven't got the maturity or anything like that. If you'd asked me that when I was 21 and I'd just come out of uni, 100% no, I would have said no, I'm not interested, because I don't feel like I could even control a class, let alone teach information that I knew.
Yeah.
And over the years, it's just being outside of the industry has really helped me, I think, to sort of understand how people work, the customer sort of relations and stuff. Because at the end of the day, a class of students are your customers, because they basically pay your bills in a literal sense.
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that. So I took the time to have a look into it. I applied summer of 2018. I got the nod to say, you've been accepted onto the course, and I was like, wow, I can't believe this. I'm actually going to be, you know, moving towards being a teacher. Teacher training year was probably the hardest year of my life. So much went on, so much pressure, constantly, always teaching, always doing this, always, you know, trying to keep relations with teachers and head teachers and stuff at different schools. I feel like I went through the mill of it with my mentors and stuff like that weren't very supportive, and I did complain a lot of times, and I felt, you know, why do I need to complain? I just want to get this year done. But I wasn't getting the support I deserved. But eventually I did pass, and it was an absolutely fantastic feeling. Went for a few interviews at a few schools, didn't get them. Sort of was like, oh, you know, it's a really nice school, but obviously, you know, things happen for a reason. I very much, I'm an advocate for that. And I got my job at the school I'm at in Hertford. Not really. It was a weird one, because I thought I liked the school, but it's not a massive school, and I always envisaged myself working at a big school, you know, like a huge comprehensive or a
Sure.
Sort of an all boys school or something like that. And actually, having worked there for nearly a year now, it's absolutely fantastic. It's a small school. It's very inclusive of all its students. The staff rota is really tight knit. And although they're not highly successful like an all-boys school over in Hertford as well, it's the quality of teaching. It's the engagement with the kids. It's a lot of these kids at this school, they've never been outside of the UK. Majority of them have never been outside the UK. They don't know what a holiday is abroad. Okay, so for me to be like, oh yeah, I've been to Dubai, I've been to South Africa, all these different places that, you know, my life has taken me, they're just like, where's that? Like, they don't even know where or what the capital of like France is or something like that, because they've never been. Right. So it's toning down that level, but also I love talking to people. I love sort of expressing my ideas and talking to people about their life and everything like that. And these kids, I feel for them sometimes, because they really don't have much in their life, but they're still happy. You know, they still come to school, they still engage with the lessons. I've built up massive relationships with them. I made a thing at the beginning of the year to learn every single person's name in my class, and I think that's massive in terms of building relationships, especially when you say to a kid, George, stop talking, or Amelia, where's your work and stuff, and they're like, wow, this guy knows my name already. Yeah. And it's only been like 2 weeks. And I think for me, I don't know what the kids think of me, but I'd like to think that I'm a teacher where they enjoy coming to my lessons, and they like me as a teacher and as a person, because I always, even on duty, I seem to get kids hoarding around me, always wanting to talk to me and stuff. And I don't see that much from other teachers. And I don't know if that's because youth's on my side or because I entertain it. But I think a lot of kids, especially at this school, they do struggle in life. And to be a teacher, to be that sort of pillar for them to come to if they're having a problem or they're just having a bad day, and especially being a PE teacher, for you to engage them in exciting sport or to get them running around and sort of take their mind off other pressures in life, I think it's probably the most rewarding thing, if not, for me in my life, the most rewarding thing that I could have done and that I am doing now. And it's just been, I've got up every day and just not regretted my decision. And that's been sort of a year on, full 180 career change from what I used to be to what I am now. More so not worrying about the pay packet, but worrying about actually job satisfaction and sort of waking up every day and making a difference to someone else's life, not just mine.
Yeah, it's really
Is
interesting.
it secondary school?
Secondary school, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't deal with little kids just yet.
Working towards that. But it's quite interesting, like you saying about, because, from listening to that, it's quite a good point that kind of Drew pointed out, purely for the fact of when you listen to you talking about it, the assumption is that they're almost like little kids. And I think, purely for the fact that when you talk about not being on holiday or not knowing, like, kind of outside of the UK, I wouldn't want to call them like underprivileged kids, but I guess, holidays now.
They are. And that's no disrespect to them. They are from an underprivileged background. So
yeah, and they just don't know
that government,
because it's not been put in front of them on holidays or anything like that. But yeah, I think it's really interesting, and especially to know that, are you doing? Is it Key Stage 3 or Key Stage 4?
Key Stage 3, 4, and 5. So the whole spectrum.
Where the hell's 5 come in? Is that like sixth form?
That's A level. That's sixth form. Yeah.
Oh wow! I didn't even, because that wasn't a thing when back in the day.
Can you try to explain to me what? Because my little brother, I've got a little brother. He's 16. He's just done it. Well, I say he's just done his GCSEs. He hasn't done his GCSEs. He would have had his first not long ago.
Oh yeah.
What is with this new grading system? When did it change from letters to numbers?
Oh God, yeah, that took me some while, because obviously, as you guys are probably more used to it, like, what was it, U to A or A star, whatever, was the general sort of consensus about how people sort of qualify grading, and now they've decided to change it to numbers, and it's like. You might as well just call, like, black white or white black. It's just completely different.
Yeah.
All the kids in school were just like, I don't know what this means. What does a 4 mean? What does a 5 mean? What does a 7 or a 9 or whatever? And basically, a 9 is A star. 8A, it goes all the way down. So realistically, if you're sort of middle of the road, you sort of, in old money, you're getting C's and sort of B's. You're reaching sort of the 5 and 6 level. But then if you're really pushing up, and that 9 is obviously to distinguish the top, I think it's 10% or 5% of kids that are just super genius, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastically clever. And it is something that, for me, going from getting my however many GCSEs I got at grade A to C or whatever, to now it's the equivalent of like a 6 or 7 or whatever, and you're just like, what does that mean, kind of thing.
Sounds so weird.
So it is very, very, very weird. There's loads
like,
of stuff.
It doesn't sound right. My brother coming home, I'm expected to get a 6 in English. I'm like,
a what?
I remember it being numbers when it was like SATs. Like when I was in primary school, and it would be like, I'm predicted to get like a 4A or whatever it was, and it was like 1, 2, 3 CBA, and it was done like that. And like, I look back at that and I think, okay, all right, fair enough, it makes kind of sense. But I don't know why they changed it. I don't see what the benefit.
They've got sort of individual gradings between 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's like 4 low, 4 medium, 4 high, 5 low, 5 medium, 5 high. So can within being a 5, you can be distinguished as a lower, a medium, or a higher. So there's all that as well, which is just, how can you tell a parent, oh, actually your kid is a 5M, so a 5 medium. So you're between the level, but you're not quite that, and you're not quite that.
Yeah.
And it's especially in PE. This is a debate that me and my boss have on a regular. Is how can you tell on an overall scale if a kid is either one level or another? Just because you have to distinguish them from a criteria. Oh, they can't shoot a 3-pointer, but they can shoot from inside the hoop or inside the ring. They can't dribble with both hands, but they can dribble really well, almost to the point of beating a whole squad with their right hand. But they're a 4, not a 5. And it's like,
Adonis,
how are we doing for time?
Yeah, I was about to say, we've got 2 minutes 47 left. Are you cool to jump on another call? Because I'm super excited that you've touched upon a point
I've got quite a few questions about school.
Yeah, that you literally touched on a point which we spoke to another teaching assistant about, and I think it's actually really interesting. As you're doing PE, something that's massive interest to me, but also the schooling system and things like that, and then also kind of future thoughts on how it's all going to change and stuff. Cool. So, cool. So we were literally just touching upon. Well, actually, you made a really good point about touching upon grading people, within sport and stuff like that. Now, I asked quite a controversial topic to the teaching assistant that I mentioned previous about that.
Yeah, I watched that one when you posted it up, and it was quite interesting.
And I'm pretty sure you'll probably know what's coming. Is like. Not just in the creative. So basically, my view of has kind of changed a lot over the years. I understand like the basics of why the schooling system you do, but it's a very boxed kind of one way. This is what you do it, and it was generated to keep people in line, learn people, get them out to work in the factories, years ago. But now we're a lot more creative, but there's nothing to measure that creativity. And actually, I think you made a really, really good point. Is if someone's doing PE, let's just say you use the example of basketball, but we can use like football, any kind of sport. Unless they're very good at it, like grading them, it's more ability and talent and things like that. Being able to grade them like that, I would find that quite hard, like quite a difficult thing to do. Like you said, they might be great at one part of it, but the other bit they're just not that good at, and it's just something that they need to work on. And how that kind of fits is really hard. Like, what's your kind of feeling on the current grading system and how they're grading kids, and whether it's kind of, is it out of date? Does it need to catch up, or is there any kind of things that you think would be good to implement if they could?
Yeah, I've got a really good sort of example of this. I was fortunate enough to go to an all boys school over in Hertford to do sort of like a comparison, see how they work, how they everything happens in their school, and how they do their GCSEs. Because I don't do GCSEs at my school; it's BTEC because of the level of ability at the school. So GCSE sport, you have to be good at 3 sports. BTEC is more coursework based, so naturally it's going to say you're not like in the nicest sense, you're not very good at sport, but if you can do the coursework, then you can still get a really good grade, which is equivalent to a GCSE. And I went over there with a colleague on my NQT course, and we were asked to observe a group of boys who, just looking at them, sort of I think it was year 9 and 10 or year 10 and 11, they were pretty good at football. You'd probably say they had a good dynamic and everything. And the head of PE said to us, just to let you know, there's an England under-15s captain in this squad here. And I was like, wow, okay, like he's 15 and he's captained England in an international match. He must be, sort of Grease Lightning, fantastic, sort of Cristiano Ronaldo-esque. And I was looking and I was thinking, who's sort of showing that prowess? And I was looking, I was like, I can't think. And we had a grading system where we had to grade them based on their ability and what we thought they were and everything according to what they were eliciting and exhibiting. And the guy that was the England captain, I didn't mark that highly. I thought he was decent, but he wasn't fantastic. And what they didn't want to do was tell us who he was before we graded him, because then we would obviously be biased, because the way the sort of education system works is if you're playing international level or you're playing at the top of your level, you're automatically like a level 9. Without even a shadow of a doubt, you are level 9 because you are playing that top level sport, which again you could say is kind of biased, because if you're naturally good at sport, you're already going to be graded high, whereas someone who is trying to be good at sport isn't going to be graded as high, even though they may play like at sub level.
Sure.
And when they told us who he was, I was like, I've never heard of him, because obviously my sort of scope isn't around under 15s England teams or whatever. And we watched him after we'd been told, and he was pretty good, but I wouldn't say he was like outstanding to the point of, you see videos on TV. Yeah, you see videos like a young Ronaldinho or a young Ronaldo or Rooney in his prime, or when he was younger and stuff. And I wouldn't say it was like that, but yeah, it was decent. But I think, it's really difficult to say, based on your sporting ability, you're a level 9 straight away. It's almost like saying you don't need to do any coursework. You don't need to be good at any of the written stuff. You're a level 9 straight away. You're a fantastic sportsman. You don't even need to almost do any writing to get 9. Obviously you do, but it's like stating that. And I think like my opinion on how grading in sport is done is, if you're not very good at sport, but you show good effort levels and things like that, effort levels not counted. It's, can you do this skill? Yes or no? What ability level can you do that skill to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Despite the fact that you may be going away outside of school and doing hours and hours and hours and hours of training and practice, that doesn't count. It is on the day. GCSE, it's like, can you perform that sport on the day when you're moderated? Yes or no? If you can't, you've screwed it up for the last 2 years that you've been doing your studies for, pretty much. It's like a snapshot experience. You nail it, yes or no. It's like going to a bodybuilding show. If you don't turn up on the day, you're not going to win. But it doesn't account for the hours and hours and hours and hours of training and food prep and lack of sleep and this and that you've done to prepare for that. Whereas the way I like BTEC, and this is kind of, I've been dropped into it almost. BTEC is more, yes, it's coursework based. So you can work hard outside of the lessons and really work on a good project, and then obviously do as well as you can in the exam to then bolster that coursework. But it's a lot more, it's called a vocational subject, but it's a lot more based on work outside of an exam, not so much exam pressure. Sure. But more the case of I'm doing work and I'm bolstering that coursework outside. And I think personally, I think the education system, I said this when I was sort of mid-20s, early 30s, moving towards the teaching side, I said it's too focused on exams. Exams are so like pressure. I don't like exams. Yeah, I don't like exams. I mean, when I was doing my bike test, it's all that learning is all put into one thing, and it's subjective on that person that's moderating you. And if that person doesn't like you, or that person has an inkling that they think, oh, he's not good enough, they're going to mark you down straight away. It's bias. Whereas obviously an exam, you've got people that could be in there. You might not be feeling very well. You might be dehydrated. It might be really hot outside. You may be through anxiety. You may not have had a good night's sleep the night before. All that pressure is bottlenecked into one specific moment, and it's a make or break. You either get it or you don't, and that could set you up for the entire rest of your life as to whether or not you do that or not. And some people say exams don't make a person, and I don't think they do, to be honest, because as we've seen through society and things like that, people who haven't done so well at school have come out to become geniuses or, CEOs of huge corporations that they didn't necessarily need, 7 A to C's or 7 5 to 7s or whatever it is that they're doing now.
It's good to know that it's good to know that the future of English football is in good hands, though. This 15-year-old seems to be the way to go.
Yeah, it's exactly.
2026 World Cup's coming home.
Could be.
No, only 26. I can't remember the year, but
It's just, yeah, it's a really interesting thing, isn't it? Because, like you said, from my understanding, so when I was going through school, I'm sure Drew, you were the same and stuff like that. Like, it was coming into more 40% exam and 60% coursework. I'm assuming these BTECs are caught, more towards like the 70-30 or kind of a higher.
Yeah, or 80-20,
Yeah.
Really sort of.
And I think that's kind of important because, there was some people that we all know the people who are in school, and we all remember them, who just hated doing PE. And you knew that they just didn't like to do it, but they did it. And you know what? Like, there were the academic people that had phenomenal grades, but physicalities and kind of sport, they just weren't maybe so gifted at, but they're just gifted in other ways. But they had like a mentality that they still did everything they could, even though they just knew that they weren't that great. And I think that, like you said, that snapshot in time might not help them. With the GCSEs and things like that now, just kind of in terms of rules, I know obviously you're probably kind of limited to opinions and things like that, but like from GCSE, I don't think I've really leaned on them that well, or I may be wrong, but many people through career-wise have said, oh, you've done well in your GCSEs. It's kind of not really a factor, but it's at the time, it's the most precious thing to you. And it's told, this is the make or break. This is how your life is going to change. And then suddenly, I never went to do A-levels. I kind of straight out of school into work. And I think probably A-levels is exactly the same. It's even more pressure. It's probably more so because university, UCAS points and things like that. But like, do you think, how important are they in terms of like your kind of personal feelings?
I mean, I'd say I'm quite open-minded when it comes to my opinion. I'm not swayed by one person's thing. I will speak my mind when it comes to this.
Yeah. And
I think, although people put so much pressure on GCSEs and they say, it is going to change your life, the hardship in it is that even to the point of college courses and stuff like that, if you want to be a builder, you still have to have a certain number of GCSEs almost to be able to get onto that course, just to be able to like lay a brick or something, because it's not necessarily, I think personally, it's not necessarily what you learn in the subject. It's the skills and stuff that you learn in order, and it's the same with uni. It's the skills you learn to have your experience and ability to perform outside of an academic sort of environment.
Sure.
You go to school, you learn these different things. You learn how simple maths. Well, you can't be a builder if you haven't got simple maths, but you could possibly be a builder if you just learn the trade from your dad or your uncle or something. There's nothing to stop that.
Yeah.
Loads of people who are probably in this country haven't got GCSEs, but they're fantastic builders or carpenters or things like that. I do think that for the majority of people that aren't very academic, I think there's huge pressure on GCSEs, especially the fact of, it's make or break after that, whether or not you kind of make your life or not, which I think is a little bit harsh, because there's so many opportunities outside of school for you to make your life. No one said to me I was going to be a PE teacher when I left school. I love sport, but I didn't think I was going to be a PE teacher. I thought teaching kids, when I was 16, 17 was the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
But, especially for being a teacher, you do have to have some sort of academic background, because you are dealing with, the livelihood of students. So to send someone in with no academic experience, no qualifications, no nothing, yes, they could be a fantastic teacher, but it's very unlikely in this sort of, in this day and age, you're going to get a job without qualifications, because everything seems to need a minimum of 5 GCSEs, grade A to C or something like that. Even just to do like shop work, they look at, oh, you haven't got any GCSEs, or this person's got GCSEs, but they may have like lower, but you don't have any. They'll take them over them.
Yeah. Despite
Despite the fact that you may be fantastic at that job and they might not be, because, that could be your only source of income and you'll just absolutely hammer it. It's very subjective, and it's very, I think there are other countries, but I can't name off the top of my head, that aren't so exam focused. I think America might be one of them. or somewhere in the Far East or something, and they don't put that much pressure on exams. They look at the type of integrity of you as a person and what you can do, sort of coursework and things like that, rather than just, that sort of make or break exam. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how it should be. I think personally, which this may be getting onto what you're going to say, the route at which it's going, it shouldn't be all this exam pressure. It shouldn't be, you have to build up to this one point. It should be a culmination of an entire year of work that you've put in, that you've sort of built a project around.
It shows personality as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Drive,
how can you show personality in an exam? It's a yes or no answer. How can you give your opinion on something if it's just a yes or no answer?
Yeah, literally. I don't know, Drew, if you were coming onto it as well, but we talked last time about sets, and I thought it'd be quite
awful.
Yeah, I thought it'd be really interesting to hear, or kind of you have opinions on it or anything like that, about like kind of the mental health of the kids, and about is there being divided into sets or kind of, I don't know what they would do, like lower, mid, or high. And like you said, these kind of, it's the exams are the be and end all really of like, are you gonna be successful? About, do you think a lot of the kids have mental, not so much like mental health, but like almost like doubt issues, that like they almost doubt themselves because they know, look, I'm just not good at this. This is just something I'm not good at, and I'll try my best in the exam, but I'm not expecting high hopes. That actually like kind of puts them in their mindset of, yeah, but I'm just not good at this, so I'm not gonna try, or like any kind of mental kind of like block.
I think mental health for younger people is something that is a massive sort of open-ended field, and I couldn't begin to start sort of trying to decipher that. But
is it discussed?
The exam pressure? Yeah. I mean,
it seems like taboo.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, younger kids, they don't really understand it because I think it's not that widely sort of spoken about. But as you get older and it's sort of, you're becoming more mature and stuff, we're fortunate enough to have a counsellor in our school that can speak to students about sort of the mental health issues, because of the demographic, there's more chance of our students having potential, mental health issues and needs and
pressures
stuff like that.
And,
but definitely, I think it's. I certainly, and I don't know about yourself, when we were going through school, I didn't have anyone to talk to in that sense. If I talked to my mum, she would just say, "Oh, she'd try and help as best she could." But at the end of the day, it's just exam pressure. That's this overarching thing, exam pressure. Well, I mean, what does that mean? Does it mean that you're really not doing well and you're going to bottle it last minute, or is it a case of it's just healthy, fear to keep you on your toes almost? But mental health in schools and stuff is becoming more and more the case, because kids just can't hack all these constant pressures, these deadlines, these, you've got to do this by this date, and you've also got 17 other pieces of work that you need to get in at that time. Ultimately, work and working life and stuff in later life is probably not going to be as pressured as it is in school, but yeah, it's just when kids say, "Oh, I haven't handed in my homework and stuff," and I'm like, "But you've had like 3 weeks to do it," and some of them are just taking mickey and they just don't do it. You can see it in their eyes. They're just not engaged with the subject at all, and they're almost there because they feel like they have to be, because it's a core subject and this, that, and the other. And then you see people who are probably not as academic as them, like fully attentive. They're there at the beginning of the lesson. They've got the book out, the date, the title, everything's written down. Their hand's always up answering questions. And you think, you're probably not going to get as better grade as they are because of just the general knowledge that but you try so hard, I can't help but not think you should really get a better grade.
Yeah, it's not taken into consideration. That's tough, isn't it? It's so tough. Such a tough kind
because years 7, 8, possibly 9 is not coursework. It is about, yes, do you get that grade in that exam? Yes, do you get that grade in that exam, etc. There's no sort of what's the word? You can't show effort. It's yes, I've got that exam. No, I haven't. I've failed, and therefore that changes the sets. And I can safely say there's kids in sets that I teach that shouldn't be there, And in geography, because it's a second subject for me, there's kids in there where I'm teaching sort of the middle set. There's kids in there that should be in the higher set. There's kids in there that should be in the lower set that are in higher sets for every other subject, but they just don't try. They don't do any homework. They don't put effort in any exams, but they're still there because they're in that set and that's where they are.
Yeah.
You know, there's not a time for review until maybe, you know, the next year or something like that where they can change that. But it's like whenever I was in school, I tried really hard to move sets in maths. I knew how important it was, and I wasn't in the best set for maths. I was probably in the middle for maths, and I got I wouldn't say pushed into it, but I'm glad that I did. My mum got me doing extra maths lessons after school, like a maths club, and from doing that, I managed to move up a set, and I managed to get a B in my maths, which from someone who was predicted like a C or a D, that was fantastic for me. That was a great grade. You know, I'd never thought I was going to get a B in maths. I wasn't good at maths. It was a very anxious subject for me. And through me, you know, taking my own initiative and obviously my mum helping as well to say, you need to do extra, otherwise you're not going to get the grade. I pushed and, you know, I managed to move up a set and I was so happy and I felt like I was in my own when I was in that set. Whereas some kids, I think, they think they're naturally bright and actually they don't push themselves and they
take the foot off the gas.
But they take up a space that someone else could be in that set, pushing as hard as they can to really get that grade. Because the way teaching is these days, this whole overarching umbrella of differentiation, which drives me up the wall half. You know, you have to differentiate your work for different ability students. You know, you lower it for people that can't get it. You increase it for people that are already surpassing, you know, expectations and stuff like that. And I just think, you know, in a set for me, I've got people that are very low and I've got people that are very high. So I have to have a range of information to be able to teach them. Whereas in my mind, it should be all the really bright kids should be in one set, all the sort of middle kids that are what they are in one set, and all the kids that are in one, you know, in a lower set be in the lower set, because then you can tailor your information specifically for that level, rather than go, right, kids, we're going to do this, the lower kids do this, and the higher kids do that. So then the lower kids look at the higher kids and go, well, why aren't I getting that work? What's wrong with me when I can't get that work? And there's conflict already in that lesson.
Yeah, that should never be in the same classroom.
They're not very good. Yeah, but it is because that's the way school is. They don't have the facilities to be able to have a teacher to teach each set, most likely because of cutbacks and funding and everything like that. Or there's so many kids in that lower portion that there's not enough kids to have or to warrant a higher set. Yeah,
crazy.
I asked this question to the teaching assistant that we had, and after I asked it, I was thinking about the way I asked it, and I was like, maybe they aren't ready to make that decision when they first go into senior school. But do you think people would, or kids would, benefit from doing the subjects that they think they're going to enjoy more? Obviously, we get to choose the subjects we want to take when we get to GCSEs and then A levels. If they had that, if they were able to make that decision earlier in their school lives, do you think that would then benefit them more moving forward? Obviously, there's going to be the core subjects that you're going to have to do, like English, math, science. But when it comes to picking, like, there were subjects that I just, you know, school wasn't for me. Like, there was, I mean, I'm not the brightest tool in the shed, sharpest tool in the shed. God,
there you go.
Get that right straight off the bat. But when I got to GCSEs, there were subjects that I really enjoyed doing. I was given the option to do business. I was given the option to do media, and I absolutely loved them. And if I was given the option to do them earlier, you know, it may have changed my outlook on how I viewed every other subject. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that.
I mean, just to put it in perspective a little bit, from primary school to secondary school, it's a huge jump in terms of what's asked. And I have this debate as well with my boss. Kids that are predicted really high stats or caps or whatever it is that they're done in primary school, they could be getting predicted level 5 and or a 6 or whatever in maths, English, science, that contradicts, or that transfers over, to PE. So automatically they may be good at maths, English, science, but according to the data, they have to be fantastic, like literally a star in PE. And some of these kids don't even know how to throw a tennis ball, and they're already having to be like penciled into, you must be fantastic at sport because you're really good at maths, English, science. So it's the thing of saying, well, if you're really good at maths, English, science, you have to be good at everything else. Well, it's not, because that's how society's changed. You're really good at one thing, but you're not very good at another. And for me, I was fantastic at sports. I wanted to stick with sports. I loved geography. I loved history. I loved the humanities, not necessarily RE, but I loved that. I wouldn't say I was fantastic at geography, but I teach geography now as a second subject because I enjoy it. I don't like history. I liked history when I was in school, but I don't like history now because there's so many facts and figures to try and remember. Geography is more, you see it evolving in front of you rather than having to remember dates and things like that.
Sure.
That's more me. But definitely, if I had the sort of like a second chance on the matter, I probably wouldn't maybe take the subjects that I did. I'd still probably take PE, but I'd probably take things that I would say, in my mind, would put me in a better stead for later life. But when you're a kid, you want to do things that you like, you enjoy, that are fun. Not necessarily things
school.
Not necessarily things that are going to set you up for later life, like business, like economics or law or things like that. And people that go, oh, I want to do food tech because I love cooking. Well, are you going to be a chef when you're older? Probably not. And is that going to benefit you when you're older? No, but you enjoy it at the time. And it's that whole ethos of, do you get kids to do things that they enjoy, or do you get kids to do things that are going to be beneficial for them in later life? And it's a really tough thing to do.
Yeah, it's a tough ask.
You can only really answer that in hindsight, and half the time when hindsight's being looked at, it's too late. So
yeah.
What do you think the kind of future of schooling, obviously with the pandemic and things like that, have you got any insight in terms of how classes might run for you, or how schools are approaching it? Like, or is this something that's more, obviously the first come round, I appreciate that your key stages aren't going back to school. They're probably not going to go back pretty much till September, I guess, if there's
year 10 and 12 are going to be the first secondary years to go back, which I teach.
Yeah. But
again, like, this whole pandemic is horrendous for schools, and the fact that the government are really encouraging things to go back without really, especially for teachers, is, well, for me being new to the profession, I don't really know what the game plan is. Yeah. I know a lot of people that I work with don't know the game plan. They're just kind of going based off what the government is saying. But how on earth are you going to get, kids, and they are still kids, they're not adults until they're post 16. How are you going to get kids to social distance sensibly in school?
Yep.
And also get on with their lessons with probably about 10 people split up around the class in order to get them to work.
Classes are going to be tiny.
You can't, well, for the amount of chats I had with my staff members, we can't do any contact sport. You can't do any team games for the chance of you touching maybe a football that someone else has touched. Sure. Cross-contamination with that. Change rooms are going to be completely different. You can't have kids changing next to each other. And a lot of peer-to-peer bonding comes to like changing rooms and being next to each other and sort of tactile, bonding and
strategy.
All that sort of stuff. Exactly. And how are you meant to get kids to grow up in a good environment in school, which was for me some of the best years of my life, when you're telling them you can't touch your friends, you can't be near them, you can't breathe near them. In a class, you can't work in groups, which is statistically proven to show the best amount of learning is group work and group collaboration, because that's as close to what businesses and business scenario is going to be like, when they're older and stuff. And you're asking these kids to learn skills that they're not, or not learn skills that they're going to need in later life. How is that going to happen? PE, although people shun it and say, oh, it's not a core subject or whatever, it is. You're getting kids active. You're getting kids working in groups. You're getting kids learning skills. you're getting kids burning off a bit of energy, understanding their mental health, learning how to cope under pressure and things like that, learning how to compete against others, everything that is learned in later life. And then you're telling them, actually, you can't do any of that because we're doing this social distancing and stuff, and you're just going to have to sort of kick a football to someone 100 meters away, just in case they don't touch the football or something. It's he's not going to be the same for probably another year or so. And the anxiety that I have is I've only just come into this profession, and I've learned textbook how to be a PE teacher, what sports to do and how to do them and stuff like that. And I don't feel like I have the capacity to be able to change that because I don't have the experience. I haven't been in the job long enough to go, well, if we're not going to do football, we can do football in another way, and this is how you do it. I don't think anyone's really been in this scenario to be able to say how they're going to do work. Obviously, a classroom lesson, you're teaching content, so it's from the board, it's this and that. Whereas PE is practical. It's mainly practical. How are you going to get a kid to do, like a passing game in football? How are you going to mimic that in some other scenario? You can't.
Yeah.
So
it's all like
cross
you said,
country every day.
It's almost impossible. Yeah. I was going to say cross country, like literally singular sports, like the table tennis when you put the wall up and you just against the wall, or football.
Or it's going to be literally you have like a packet of wet wipes or something like that. Every time someone comes on, you've got to disinfect the back or disinfect this and disinfect that.
Yeah. What you need is like almost a sprinkler system that just stays over the top of the whole pitch and just rains.
Sanitizer the whole game.
Yeah.
What was a 1 hour PE lesson is now a 3 hour PE lesson.
Yeah, because you've got 30 kids to try and share a rounder's bat and a ball. Or you invest a hell of a lot of money into buying everyone their individual equipment, somehow play against themselves.
But that's never going to happen.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
God, the country's in disarray when it comes to money. Anyway.
No, I'm on full pay still, working once a month. But I'm obviously doing online lessons and stuff, so it's it's a weird scenario. It's a weird scenario. I'm glad I'm on full pay because it's allowed me to still survive living on my own and stuff. But I do feel for people that are furloughed because I don't know what I'd do in that scenario. It'd be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Podcast?
Yeah, the podcast. Yeah. Just out of interest. Yeah, exactly. That kind of sums us up. Just out of interest, like homeschooling. How's homeschooling been?
I think it's massively flopped on its head, to be honest, because especially for my year 10 group, the uptake has been almost next to none. I think year 10s, obviously, you're getting to that stage where you're becoming a full-fledged teenager.
Yeah.
Hormones are going wild. A teacher setting you work from home and your parents not really sort of keeping on top of it. Why would you do it? No point.
Would you say it's definitely based like success rate on age? Like the younger years, the parents are on 100%. It. They're a bit, even
100%.
Key stage 1, 2, they're going to be doing it 100%. But as soon as you hit that teenager, you're more independent. The mum and dad aren't on top of pressurized or
100%. Like key stage geography, we don't have all the kids, but we've got a good majority of kids in schools every Monday and every Thursday. They're really super enthusiastic. They're always up putting their hand up, answering questions in the chat and stuff. You come to my year 10 group, which I've got 27, and only 3 turned up to the call last week. And this is a GCSE group. This is a GCSE group that are still having to do the work to go towards their final grade, and they just think it's a big holiday. And it's like, life's going to come and bite you in the arse in a minute when you realise I should have been doing the work, and now I've got so much work to do. And again, it goes back to that whole mental health thing. Are they going to do it? Probably not. Are they going to flop the subject? Probably, and then that's time wasted. But that's out of my hands for that scenario. I can't. The way we've been discussing work and stuff is, as a teacher, you have to be shown to be doing as much as you can to support that child. But if that child doesn't want to work, then that's out of your hands. You can't do any more than what you've done. So, you can. It's the whole analogy. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't, get it to walk across the river. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, tough scenario.
Yeah. Do you reckon they're quickly? I don't know how much time they've got left.
Especially being a teacher, you want obviously your kids to do so well, but you can't force them to do the work, and it's heartbreaking after so much time building those relationships and then not doing the work. It's just what was all that relationship building in the beginning of the year for? When they just switch off.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting couple of years. Yeah, I don't think it's going away for rebuilding. It's going to be interesting to see what happens,
huge,
especially in schools.
Yeah, huge. But we'll see.
Just to finish up a bit, we normally do a top tip with all of our guests just for getting through lockdown. What have you been doing? Obviously, you've been working, but other than that, what have you been doing to sort of keep yourself busy and get yourself through lockdown?
One thing, nearly one thing. Apart from training, I've been fortunate enough to be training, but Call of Duty has been my number one go.
Oh my god! Oh,
you've saved Drew for here.
Yes. Oh, this is two for two that I've had answers that I've been doing. Oh,
Warzone has saved my bacon on this one. Yeah.
Love that.
Weirdly enough, I've actually managed to get about 10 new friends through Warzone, purely because everyone's been in the same scenario, and through sort of friendship circles and stuff, we've played together, and I've made some really good friends out of it, as well as obviously being a massive time sink. So Call of Duty, definitely.
There you go, ladies.
I'm still young at heart, so I love.
What do you play on?
PC.
Nice.
Yeah,
fair play.
He's
a good player.
Got this brand new gaming rig for it as well.
Look at that.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
You're a good player then.
I tried to be.
Love that.
Cool.
Right.
Well, look, Adonis.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, Adonis, thank you very much for coming on. I think
welcome.
you shared some really good insight and actual really good personal opinions, and I like that you have had that, because I think sometimes the situation you are in, it's difficult to actually give personal, because you've got obviously the schools potentially looking at you and stuff like that. So I really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, Adonis, PE teacher.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Right, take care, guys.
Cheers, mate. Really appreciate you coming on.
No worries. See you later.
Stay safe, man. All the best.
Bye. And you.
And there we go.
Another one.
Thanks for watching the XXL Podcast. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, turn notifications on, share the video.